There we go. So I'm not taking that color all over the place. That creates a little bit of dimension. Hello and welcome to this very haphazardous makeup tutorial of sorts. I have had quite a few people express interest in me doing a makeup tutorial. Honestly, I've had that like even when people have not known that I wanted to do YouTube for whatever reason, and I just always find it so funny because I'm like, thanks, I'm glad that you like my makeup, but you do also realize that there are a ton of other people on the internet who actually know what they're doing. It's not to say that I do a bad job by any means, but at the same time, I'm like, there are hundreds and hundreds of makeup tutorial videos, but then I had to realize, you know what? People are not always coming to these videos necessarily just for the techniques. Sometimes it's about the personality, and people are trying to tell me indirectly that they like my personality, and I should take that as a compliment. So here we are today. I'm just gonna do a simple glam look. I'll use some fall colors since we're getting into spooky season. I have my little moringa latte that I made this morning. It's good. Honestly, just an excuse to be able to get the sugar from the oat milk. That's really all I need. I didn't have any matcha, so I was like, well, moringa will work just fine. I'm just gonna say, if you are coming to my video, I'm assuming that you are brand new with makeup because like I said, there are a ton of other videos that you could be watching. Okay, all right, let's just get started. So honestly, I have two different things that I might use or whatever kind of like as a primer. There are some people who say there's no need to prime whatsoever, and then there are other people who swear by it. It's gonna be one of those things where you're just gonna have to kind of try it for yourself. My skin tends to run a little bit dry, and so because of that, I usually like to have that extra layer of moisture before I even start doing the foundation or anything. The other thing I'll say is I use less conventional things for primer. Like I don't have an actual primer with me. I'm just using this Lush moisturizer, which is gonna have some oil in it, and so that's something to keep in mind. If you know that you're gonna be inside all day, then not such a big deal. But if you know that you're going to be outside, then maybe opt for doing like a facial sunscreen or something like that. The one thing that I feel like I'm gonna have to figure out and navigate for myself as I'm going through stuff on YouTube is trying to figure out when do I want to share what kind of specific products I'm using, and when do I think that that should just be irrelevant? I guess I do have a primer. I have a facial primer. I have the Urban Decay one. So there you go. I do use a lot of Urban Decay products. I am vegan. I've been vegan for 12 years. In January it'll be 13 years. But yeah, I mean, with that though, I also have a lot of values around sustainability, and sometimes I don't know. I understand because like I can get excited about these products too, and I kind of go in waves. Like I kind of go in waves where I end up being more into the consumer culture, and I'm like, yeah, I want to try this product and this product. I heard it's really good. And then I end up also coming into spaces where I'm just like, okay, and now how can we think about things being as sustainable as possible? And maybe like we don't need to be focusing on having, this is an eye primer. This I do definitely recommend if you like high pigment. This is the Urban Decay eye primer. But yeah, at what point do we say, okay, like maybe we don't need to be focusing so much on new products. Maybe we need to be focusing on how we can make things more sustainable. So I would be interested in doing like kind of a sustainable, eco-friendly makeup review at some point, trying out some of those products and seeing how they compare. I kind of have been thinking I want some more natural products for like an everyday use. Not that I use makeup every day anyway. Like I usually am full glam or nothing. And at the same time, like I have noticed a couple of times, like especially now that I've been starting to do videos, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want full makeup. On camera, it is gonna look nice to have like something. So let me go ahead and get something really basic, and then it's like, oh, well, now I kind of wish that I had some more eco-friendly products because I don't want to necessarily go into all the stuff. I've got this Pacifica face cream sort of thing, so it's actually like a tinted thing. It's not a true foundation. I have pretty decent skin anyway, so I really don't need a whole lot. I did have some blemishes, things not probably honestly from stuff like this not being cleaned. Okay, actually I'm gonna go ahead and with a little bit of concealer. I, like so many other people, have been using the Shape Tape by Tarte. Okay, so I just have the concealer under my eyes. Some people will do like a full highlight sort of situation, but I'm not really going to be doing that. I am not using a super strong foundation. So this is like very translucent compared to some other foundations which are like super full coverage. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go in with one more layer. So it is kind of buildable in that sense, but just keep that in mind if you want more full coverage, if you need it to like even out your skin tone a little bit more, or you just want your pores covered more, anything like that, then yeah, the full coverage is gonna be the way to go. But again, I like to try to keep things as light and airy as possible for the most part. Super important to clean your sponge. Honestly, I would do it every time you use it because you're supposed to use it wet anyway. So soap and water, really easy. And then, you know, if you also want to, you can always do a little bit of alcohol afterwards. I do keep an alcohol spray, and this is also really handy where if you want to be able to clean any of your brushes, then you can go ahead and just spray your brushes with a towel. Then you can just go ahead and wipe that off. I have like a couple of rags that I don't mind having pigment all over, and so I'll just reuse those rags to be able to clean off my brushes with that. I'll do eyebrows next. I've got a little unconventional way of doing my eyebrows. I honestly just use my contour palette because it's a color that works, and then I just have an eyebrow brush. And I like the shape of my eyebrows. I don't really need anything to be too different. I just like them to be slightly darker, slightly more defined, especially since I've got an eyebrow piercing. I like that to be enhanced. I've never really used too many eyebrow products. This is kind of what I've stuck to. This is a contour brush. Now here's the other thing that's kind of coming to mind with just like even picking up a brush is that using the correct tools honestly sometimes is going to get you a lot further than using better products. Depends on what specifically we're talking about, because there are some products that are going to be really buildable, and then there are some things where if you want really strong pigment, you're going to need to get really strong pigment right out the gate, you know what I mean? So I don't have a cream contour kit. I still just have my powder one. I've had this one for years. So there's 3 different browns here, and they all kind of function for a separate purpose. This is going to be like the most dramatic. If you want the super chiseled look, then you just got to be ready to kind of be a little bit more detail oriented with that. This one's kind of like an in-between one, and then this one was supposed to be to kind of warm up the area, not necessarily do everything. So there's 2 different kinds of, well, I have 2 different kinds of contour brushes too. If I wanted to get super chiseled, I'd probably use this one. Honestly, we'll do it so that I can show you. And I'm gonna go right under like my cheekbone area. I honestly, I want it to kind of, okay, my phone just ended up running out of storage, so I had to fix that. Anyway, you can see that I kind of got it right above the most narrow spot. I'm trying to create that contrast between the top part of the cheekbone and the lower part right there. I used to do my contour like right in the most narrow spot, and that's not where you want it. You want it darkest right next to where it's supposed to be lightest, okay? And now here is where I might come in with this brush and actually come in with the lighter one. And I'm gonna use the pointy side towards me because it's all gonna kind of like fan anyway, and this will kind of help keep that line exaggerated. Not doing too well with it. I can come in with this and just... The other thing too is like, yeah, using like a pressed powder is definitely, you know, my face is a little bit moist right now, so it's gonna get a little bit splotchy. It's not gonna be quite as smooth as if I was going to use cream, you know, using the cream and cream together. Okay, that was a lot, and you can see why it's getting a little bit splotchy.
Hi there. I just wanted to pop in because, yeah, I'm looking at the contour and it's a little ridiculous. And part of the reason is because, honestly, the more chiseled brush that I was using is not something that I use regularly. I usually honestly just use the soft one. I don't know. I definitely have used very heavy contour before. I'm sure you can find pictures all over my Instagram. And at the same time, I'm just going to give you the advice, like, maybe don't go that heavy. It also came down a little bit more than it should have. It should have stayed a little bit more here. I guess I don't worry because, I mean, you can see this is my face at the end of the day while I'm editing, and it really has worn off a good amount. Also using the setting powder instead of setting spray, I know how heavy that setting powder is, so in the past I have gone a little bit heavier with the contour in order to overcompensate for that. So just definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're not going to be using setting powder or setting spray. I mean, the setting spray really isn't going to make that much of a difference, right? The powder kind of helps it blend because it's going in with another brush. That's really all it is that going in with another brush. So I did not blend that well, so I just want to point that out in case anybody tries to do it themselves. Good luck!
What I'm gonna go ahead and do is I also have this flat brush, and this in here has all of these light colors, and I kind of just swipe all the way through on all of them. And then this is where we go in on top of the cheekbone and get that lighter part. So we're kind of pre-highlighting in that way if you think about it. And then I'll go in with a little bit of blush. So this is what I use for my blush brush. And actually, because we're in the fall season, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let's go in here, and I kind of like to use this color over here for the fall when I'm doing my blush. I think it's a little bit more fun to kind of use a little bit more of an orangey color than going for like a pink. Again, there's so many different trends around blush, but I just put this right in front of the contour and sometimes honestly like a little bit on top of it. I've come to like blush almost more than I like my contour at this point. And then there is a method called burning out, which is where you will take your bronzer and you'll actually put it kind of like in these areas, like around your hair, and just kind of like frame your face. I usually kind of wait to do that with the blush these days because I just like to have a little bit more color, and especially with this being more of a brown anyway. I don't mess around too much with the nose thing, but I have started to do a little bit on the tip of my nose, and then I'll just do highlight afterwards. So that's that. If I wanted to do a little bit under the jaw, I could. It's gonna be better to try to get on the ends of your jaw. I've noticed, I've done it in the past where I've like brought it all the way to my chin. Doesn't work that well, doesn't look that good. So I'll do my highlighter afterwards. I'm actually gonna go ahead and do some of the eyeshadow now. So let me find an orange. But this is the kind of brush that I'm gonna go ahead and use for eyeshadow. This is gonna be for the crease kind of area. So I'm just gonna generously get a little bit of orange around here. And also, if you've got smaller eyelids or just smaller eyes in general, then obviously getting a smaller brush is gonna be helpful. I mention that because this is just ever so slightly large for me, so it does always get a little bit messy. I don't know, I'm kind of like this, you can think of it as kind of like your blending color anyway, and so because I know I'm gonna have other layers, I just go with it. But yeah, you can see that I'm getting all in the crease area, and then I'm kind of almost creating like a little bit of a C on the ends, and I'm not gonna try to make them perfect yet because I am gonna add other colors as I go. Yeah. For me, this layer stays pretty messy. There's a lot of people who, once they get the crease the way that they like, they'll do what's called a cut crease, and so they'll actually put like white concealer over here to like really get that nice sharp defined edge. I've done it before. I don't have any concealer to be able to do that right now anyway. Like if I used my skin tone one, it would get a little bit muddy. You usually want to use a concealer that's a lot lighter than your actual skin tone, so something else to keep in mind. I'm just gonna go ahead and with this really neutral color right here, use that above my eye, and that will kind of blend the top part of this orange. Okay, so you can see through the blending already that I've made it look a lot lighter. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go in with a darker orange because that's what I want. So these are only two different kinds of brushes, right? This one you can see is a little bit more of a blending kind of brush because it's a little less stiff, whereas this one has a little bit more stiffness to it and it's a little bit more pointed. So it's better for precision. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this darker orange because I do want this to be a little bit more precise. And I'm gonna do it on the front part of my lid, leaving the back open because I'm gonna do a darker part there afterwards. And I know I'm swiping. I know a lot of makeup artists will say, don't do that, you should be tapping. I'll tap. Okay, cool. I look great. And now I've got like a really flat kind of brush, which is great because I'm gonna go ahead and I'll actually get this purple right over here first. And I won't mind being a little bit messy and liberal over here on the edges. And I'll just pat, 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 pat there. So eyeshadow, as I was saying, is one of those things where I think it does kind of make a difference what products you use if you want to, specifically if you want to be able to do like a glam look or something. Some of these colors can be essentially watered down, and obviously I don't mean specifically with water, but you know, you can dilute the color a little bit. Whereas to be able to try to use something that doesn't have this level of pigment and to get these kinds of colors happening, it simply is not going to happen. I'm now taking another blending brush and I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to start trying to create some of this shadow effect that I want around the corners of my eyes. So I'm just going to swipe back and forth because I know I kind of want that fanned out look on the ends. I might blend it in a little bit towards the middle. Awesome. And the key here is to really make sure that you don't put too much eyeshadow on at first. You can always build up. You can see that this is starting to kind of gray out a little bit. And then also like my orange isn't quite as clear as I want. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with the orange again first on those parts where I want it. It's a lot harder to take away. Like you might have to start over if you end up putting too much. And also like I'm kind of using this purple more as like a little bit of a transition shade because I'm going to actually put yet again another purple on top of that in a second for the true color that I want. I don't want to use too much of the eyeshadow, but I do think I want a little bit more. So again, I'm going to focus it still on the eyelid area. I'm not taking, with this brush, I'm not taking it beyond that point. Awesome, looking cool. All right, and now I've got an even smaller brush right here. And this one I'm gonna go ahead and use to take this nice dark purple over here. And this is where I'm gonna just redefine those corners even more. Focusing it still on the eyelid mostly, but I am taking it a little bit out, kind of creating that triangle. And then I go in with my blending brush again. And this time with the blending brush, I'm just trying to blend the outside parts of it. I want to keep that pigment on the eyelid itself because that's the last layer, the last color that I'm putting there. So the blending is just for the part outside the eyelid. Now, another thing that you could do, some people will do the whole like tape method. So they'll do essentially kind of what I did, but they will keep a piece of tape here and take that off if they want to have a really clean line. Something I'll do sometimes if I just want a slightly cleaner line, but I still want it to be a little bit messy, is I'll take one of these and I'll just fan up at the very end. And boom, it's a little bit cleaner. Okay, now what I like to do as well, I could stop there with the eyeshadow. I could just keep all of the eyeshadow on top of the eye. Or if I wanted to, I could also come in with, this is kind of like a brush that's really good for the lower line. I have some that are a little bit more rounded like this, and then I have some that have a little bit of a sharper edge, and so I'll usually use the rounder one with a more neutral color and be a little bit more generous with the eyeshadow at first. I might even take a line right under what I've got on top. Sometimes, I'll honestly, if I really want a lot, I might even take one of the blending brushes and just go crazy. So those are all options, but if you're gonna do a bigger brush, then I would suggest doing a less crazy color at first. And then if you want a little bit more precision, a little bit more color specifically under the eye, this is where you're gonna wanna take a smaller brush, and I'll go in with this dark orange right here, and I'm gonna do it right under the lash line. There we go. So I'm not taking that color all over the place. That creates a little bit of dimension. I have this highlighter, well, I use it as highlighter because it's supposed to be like a setting powder, but it happens to have glitter in it. I will just go ahead and do this first because it's actually a lot smoother than a highlighter. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take that setting powder first and put it in the spaces that I want highlighted. And then I'll actually go in with a highlighter over it. Great. That's pretty heavy. That's okay though, because now I have a regular setting powder, which honestly, I'll do the eyeliner first and then we'll do the setting powder. I just was excited. I wanted to do the highlighter. Okay, I've got technically 3 different kinds of eyeliner, although we're only going to focus on these 2 for today. I have a pencil one. Pencil ones are really, really good if you are somebody who likes to do eyeliner in the waterline. Not everybody likes to do this, especially if you have really sensitive eyes. It's probably not going to be for you, but I'll just take my sponge, hold it down, and I like to get right in the waterline. I've been doing this since middle school. So that's what I like to do. Some people will do it right under. So where I did the darker orange, that's where they'll do an eyeliner, and that's okay too. Then I've got a felt tip eyeliner, which is really good if you like to have a lot of precision, if you want to be able to do a cat eye on top. And this is one of those things where I would do your research to figure out kind of what eye shape you have and figure out how you want to be able to shape your eye, because that's what the eyeliner is for. If I'm just going to be following my exact eye shape, I don't know, like there's not really a great point to doing it other than just knowing where your eyelids are, I guess. But yeah, so this is an opportunity to kind of shape your eye in the way that you want. I like a cat eye, so I will find a high point over here and then I'll just strike down. That's how I do it anyway. Some people will go up. Yeah, and it definitely is something to experiment with, because for some people, they might decide that they want to do their eyeliner like this, like they're not going to do the insides at all. Could also just depend on the makeup look that you're doing. For other people, you might want to do just the outside and then just the inside corner like this, which honestly we might stick to today. Right? Because I'm going to put on mascara anyway, so it's going to kind of take care of that missing part right there. Or you might decide to go over the entire eye itself. I might try this today and see if I like it. Might as well. We're experimenting. Cool. I've got this friend right here, an eyelash curler, so I'm just going to do a little vloop and a little vloop. And then of course we've got some mascara. There are a lot of people who need to do really crazy faces on this. I kind of just tilt my eyes down a little bit, or tilt my head back a little bit, and that brings my eyelids to a space where I can do it and not totally look like a crazy person. But you know, some people have to make the mascara face. You do whatever works for you. Again, my mascara is light enough to where I probably would have liked to fill in the eyeliner. We're gonna do that. I just want it to be a little bit cleaner. Hey, we tried it, you know? and I ended up not liking it, and that's okay. Okay, and then I can just do a little bit of mascara on the bottom as well. Okay, that's what we've got so far. Cool. So I've got now some setting powder. There's setting powder and there's setting spray. They've both got their benefits, and sometimes I'll use both, especially since I am using a less coverage kind of foundation, and I end up kind of getting some of those splotchy areas. I often will use the setting powder as a way to kind of hide that and cover that up. That's why we're gonna go with that for right now. And then today I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get, I've got like this dark red. That's what I pulled out first, so we're just gonna do that. I was gonna go for my gray, but honestly this is fine too. And then lastly, I've got some fake lashes. There's a lot of different ones out there. I have tried like the magnet ones before. Some of those are better than others. If you have the ones where you can do the eyeliner that's magnetic, those ones are decent. The ones that are magnets onto themselves, I have never had luck with, because if it doesn't fit your eye shape perfectly, then it will kind of just slide and not really stay on your eye that great. So today I'm just doing glue, but you're gonna want to let it sit for like a minute, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, and kind of get tacky before you start to put it on your eye. A lot of people will also, they'll take tweezers at this point to put it on, which is probably a better method, honestly, but I don't know, I kind of just use my hands. Again, it's about figuring out what works for you. I really do hope that this video is helpful for someone, because I know I've had requests on the makeup tutorials, and I also am just thinking to myself, like, I don't know, I'm trying to say all the things that I can think about as they come up, but I feel like I'm not giving all the information. I don't know. I'll come up with other things. There'll be things in future videos, future tips, right? We don't have to get it all at once. There we go. do, 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 do. And then it is my recommendation, where if you are going out with fake lashes like this, I would keep your glue with you, so that way if they start to peel away, which is a problem I have often, especially by the inside corners of my eyes. If anyone has any tips on that, help me out. If they start to peel away at all, you want to have your glue with you, so that way you can, you know, fix that. This is what we've got today for a little bit of glam, a little bit of fall glam. Also, if you want to see more makeup tutorials, maybe I'd be open to that. I don't know. I'm kind of taking things as they come. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you have a wonderful spooky season. I hope that you watch all of the Halloween movies that make your heart feel like cotton candy. I don't know, that was the first image that came to mind. But you get it. You know exactly what I mean. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Whatever this is. Bye.